I now recognize myself for an opening statement. Each and every day, the United States depends upon Microsoft, cloud services, productivity tools, operating systems, to carry out an array of critical missions. Microsoft is deeply integrated into our nation's digital infrastructure, a presence that carries heightened respect and heightened responsibility. We're holding this hearing today because of the latest Department of Homeland Security Cyber Safety Review Board, CSRB report. The report, attributed last summer's Microsoft Exchange Online hack by Storm 0558, which is backed by the Chinese Communist Party to, and I quote, a cascade of security failures at Microsoft, end quote. The determinations were based on a number of findings detailed in the report, and I have the report and would like to introduce it into the record, and so ordered. Specifically, Storm 0558 accessed Microsoft Exchange accounts using authentication tokens signed by an inactive private encryption key that Microsoft created in 2016. The Beijing-backed actor obtained tens of thousands of individual U.S. government emails by compromising the Microsoft Exchange email accounts of U.S. officials working on national security matters relating to China. The CSRB concluded that this intrusion would have been prevented had Microsoft cultivated a strong security culture, which the CSRB said, and I quote, requires an overhaul, particularly in light of the company's centrality in the technology ecosystem and the level of trust customers place in the company to protect their data and operations, end quote. By any measure, this cyber intrusion was not sophisticated. It did not involve advanced techniques of cutting-edge technologies. Instead, Storm 0558 exploited basic, well-known vulnerabilities that could have been avoided through basic cyber hygiene. In other words, this was avoidable. This is extremely concerning and falls to this committee to do the due diligence and determine just where Microsoft sits and how it's taken this report to heart. Our goals today are simple. We want to give the company we put so much faith in as a government the opportunity to discuss the lessons learned, the actions taken, and of course to share where they feel the report could have been wrong. To be clear, the U.S. government would never expect a private company to work alone in protecting itself against a nation-state actor. We need to do more work to define roles and responsibilities for public and private sector actors in the event of nation-state attacks. Our nation's adversaries possess advanced cyber capabilities and substantial resources, often exceeding the defensive cybersecurity measures available to even the most sophisticated companies. However, we do expect government vendors to implement basic cybersecurity practices. Since this is not the first time Microsoft has been the victim of an avoidable cyber attack, and in the light of the report, it's now Congress's responsibility to examine the response to this report. We must restore the trust of the American people who depend on Microsoft products every day. We must also address broader questions regarding the mitigation of economic and national security risks. This hearing aims to shed light on these issues and ensure Microsoft has implemented the CSRB's recommendations to safeguard against future breaches. As we dive into these issues, we need to keep three things in mind. First, closing the cyber workforce gap, my top priority for the committee this year. The security challenges we face as a nation are compounded by the persistent shortage of cybersecurity professionals. As Microsoft continues its work to invest in our cyber workforce, we must hearken back to the lessons from the report. Our cyber professionals must be trained to think security first. We must equip them with the right skills to protect our networks and to build our systems' security. Second, we need to define the role of public and private sector entities in protecting our networks against nation-state actors. And I think the federal government has been silent too long on this. These attacks have become increasingly common rather than anomalies. We need clearly defined responsibilities so that we can effectively respond to nation-state attacks on our networks in a private-public partnership. Finally, we must address a fundamental issue, the economic incentives that drive cybersecurity investments. As the CSRB's report recently revealed, underinvestment in essential security measures exposed critical vulnerabilities. Changing the economic incentives for cybersecurity investment is not about imposing onerous regulations or stifling innovation. It's about creating an environment where the costs of neglecting cybersecurity are outweighed by the potential benefits of comprehensive security measures. Today, we will explore the steps Microsoft is taking to strengthen its security culture through its Secure Future initiative. While I commend Microsoft for announcing steps to reform its security practices, I want to hear today what Microsoft's follow-through has been on those commitments, on its past responses to other significant cyber incidents, such as SolarWinds. One of my biggest concerns is Microsoft's presence in China, our nation's primary strategic adversary, and the regime's responsibility for the hack we're discussing today. Over the years, Microsoft has invested heavily in China, setting up research and development centers, including the Microsoft Research Asia Center in Beijing. Microsoft's presence in China creates a set of complex challenges and risks, and we have to talk about that today as a part of our discussion on the security issue. Mr. Smith, as a longtime key leader within Microsoft, I anticipate that you will help us understand the gaps that enabled these recent cyber intrusions. The American people, as well as the numerous federal agencies that depend on Microsoft, deserve those assurances that their data and their operations will be protected. And Mr. Smith, we appreciate your presence here today and look forward to your testimony. I also would like to let the members of the committee know, and listen up, team, that should your question require an answer that would necessitate movement to a secure location, Mr. Smith will be the only one who knows that answer once you ask the question. Look, China and Russia, Beijing and Moscow are watching us right now. And if you don't think that's true, you're naive. The last thing we want to do is empower our adversary in any way. Members, if Mr. Smith says the answer would require a secure facility, please accept this and ask another question. The committee staff will determine the best way or mechanism to get you the answer in a secure and classified manner. With that, I yield now, and I recognize the ranking member for his opening statement.